Hello everyone, welcome to the Ichimoku.co daily stock market review for the trading day ending Monday, October 12th. Firstly to the S&P 500, and here we see the trend continuing to the upside. This candle has made a lower high but a higher low. And with the formation of this inside day, as we call it, we don't see a change of trend. The trend to the upside technically continues. Problem for the buyers here is the 2019 resistance, previous strong area of resistance in the immediate past, and we saw very strong selling from this area, so good potential for the trend to change to the downside. Now, with the formation of these two small bodied candles at the end of this very strong uptrend, that suggests that the upside momentum in net terms from the buyers has really dried up, and it suggests the possibility of a change of trend. Always will require confirmation, looking for the next candle to make a lower high and a lower low, but still watching this resistance at 2019 very carefully. If the buyers come in up through this level very strongly tomorrow, then we could see this market test to higher levels. At this higher level, we have a window that was opened up between 2034 and 2035, 2036, so potential for strong resistance there. And then up above there, 2040, if the buyers are strong enough to breach through that window, very strong resistance in a large zone extending all the way up to 2079, 2080. In terms of bullishness in the longer term time frame, we do have a bullish market, but still not confirmed in the manner that we'd like to see. We saw a bullish breakout, but we didn't see the strong follow through. We've seen these very weak candles. Firstly, that indecisive candle from last week, and then today a small body candle, although today's candle we've seen the buyers take control. But still, the lack of momentum in net terms does cause reason for concern. So we're not seeing any confirmation of this bullish breakout. In terms of the shorter timeframes, the medium-term timeframe, the market is bullish by trading above the Q10 and looking a little overextended. So the market attempting to revert back to that mean in the medium-term timeframe wouldn't surprise. So looking for a potential lower high and lower low. And the Tenkan-sen here is below the corresponding price action, so suggesting very strong activity in the short-term timeframe, strong trending price action, and looking a little overextended in the depth away from the Tenkan-sen as well. If the market does come off, the top of the cloud may provide very strong resistance, and with that being the round number 2000, we'd be looking for the buyers to come in quite strongly around that area. Moving next to the Dow 30, and here we see a continuation of the trend to the upside, so slightly different than what we saw with the S&P, where the buyers have been strong enough to extend the trend up through the previous high. The previous candle we saw formation of a spinning top indecisive type candle, so the same scenario as in the S&P, but a bit of strength here from the buyers. So obviously we're seeing the larger cap stocks attracting some stronger buying than we've seen with a broader market, as we've seen with the S&P 500. The buyers have taken control in this candle, and we've seen the range is roughly about the same as the previous range, so the eagerness from the buyers has not changed and hasn't diminished. But the important thing here is the increase in the size of the white body, so extending the net momentum to the upside, and also the market closing up towards the highs, highlighting the buyers closing with control. One area to watch here is the previous swing low, just above where the market's trading at 17,151. That may provide some very strong resistance, so we will be watching that area closely. But if the buyers can breach up through there in a strong bullish manner early tomorrow, then we could easily see the Dow trading up to 17,350. If the Dow does come off, looking at 17,074 or the area around 16,978 to hold a support. In terms of Ichimoku, we have a bullish market in all three timeframes. We saw a previous bullish breakout, and we saw strong bullish follow through. So this suggests that we do have a strong bull market in that longer term time frame, as well as the shorter term time frames. We're trading above the Q10 and the Tenkan-sen, and the Chica span is supporting this bullishness. So really the Dow 30 stocks seem to be leading the way here. If we see the market come off, very strong support extending down to around the top of the Ichimoku cloud, around 16,782. In terms of the depth of price action away from the Q10, just looking a little overextended, but no sign here that we may have a pullback with the buyers closing with control. next to the Nasdaq 100, and an increase in the trend today. The current candle forming a higher high and a higher low, but it's done so on an indecisive spinning top type candle. This suggests that there is a possibility of a change of trend. We have seen a continuation of the white bodies, but that white body for the current candle is much larger than the previous, and if we watch this trend as it progressed, the size of the white bodies continually got smaller, and this is a classic way that we see the termination of an uptrend, and it suggests that as the market is making those higher highs and higher lows, the net effort in terms of the distance travelled between the open and the close is not as great, and that's the net momentum, and it does suggest that there may be some weakness in the market, and suggesting a possibility of a change of trend, but it's always only a possibility. We have seen the buyers take control at the close of trading by closing between the midpoint level and the high, so that's in favour of continuation of the trend, but we have very strong resistance overhead. Firstly at the 4395 level, and just above at the top of the zone of resistance around the 4400 round number. Now if we do breach up through that level, potential resistance up to the 4448 region, that was an area where we saw very strong rejection, so if the market does trade up to that area, watch it very closely. If we do see a change of trend, looking to the bottom of the highlighted zone at 4347 to hold as strong support. In terms of Ichimoku, we do have a bullish market in all three timeframes, trading above the Kijun-sen, the Ichimoku Cloud and the Tenkan-sen, and that bullish activity is supported by the Chikou span being above the corresponding price action, so it's suggesting we still have some positive momentum in those longer time frames. The Kijun-sen, interestingly, is pointing flat, and price action had been attracted back towards it previously, but the window that was opened up held as very strong support. There still is a possibility of the Kijun-sen being attracted back towards price action, being attracted back towards that Kijun-sen. But looking at the Tenkan-sen here, it's still pointing up sharply, reflecting strong upside momentum in the short-term time frame, and this highlights the strength of the buyers in that short-term time frame. If we do see the market come off, the Tenkan-sen should be an area where we should see very, very strong support coming in, but it is below some significant other support areas before the market trades to there, so we could see the buyers come in before it ends up trading to the Tenkan-sen if we do see any selling in this market. Now just taking a look at the Nasdaq 100 with the bands here, the band charts, and here we saw previously the middle of the bands holding as support for 3 consecutive candles, then an attempted breakout up above the top band, and we've just closed above there previously, and then for today's trading closing above there, but it hasn't occurred on strong bullish candles, so really we are seeing some strength in the market, but certainly not a strong confirmation of a strong medium-term uptrend here. What we want to see is a strong bullish candle, then strong bullish follow through, and essentially the market trading in a bullish manner up through this previous swing high at about the 4450 level. Moving next to some of the stocks that we'd been interested in previously, and the first is Nike, and here on the Ichimoku charts we see a good solid bounce off the previous highs, and the buyers coming into this stock quite strongly. Good build of upside momentum in terms of the increase of size of the white body candle, and the buyers closing with control. Some resistance above this region around the 126 level, but a good solid effort from the buyers today, trading well up above each of the Ichimoku indicators. Had been strongly outperforming the overall market, now trading back within the bands, and we can see that momentum of relative strength had started to come off quite rapidly, and the outperformance was no longer there over the last week or so, but we are seeing some strong buying coming in, and the momentum has moved back within the band, so we could see a resumption of the outperformance, but still early days yet. We want to see stronger performance up above this previous level of resistance. Activision ATVI is another we had been watching, and here we see a good solid performance up above each of the Ichimoku indicators, a good solid build of momentum here, buyers closing with control, testing above the resistance, and In terms of the bands here, also strong outperformance here in terms of the medium-term strength trend. In terms of relative performance here against the SPY ETF, the overall equities market ETF, trading within the bands and around the middle of the bands, so that strong outperformance that we saw previously was no longer in the market, but an opportunity here for the buyers if they can give us some strong follow-through to the upside and may be able to trade outside of the bands. And we see in the last week or so that the momentum of relative strength had been coming off, as we've seen here, but an opportunity here for the buyers if they can continue this trend to the upside. Nvidia, NVDA, has been a stronger stock in the recent past, and trading up above each of the Ichimoku indicators. Good solid buying coming in today, and trading up above the upper band in terms of the buyers in that medium-term time frame. In terms of relative strength, still strongly outperforming the overall equities market by trading up above the upper band, but momentum of that relative strength had started to come off. It had started to move back towards the bands and is decelerating to a small degree, but an opportunity here for the buyers if they can continue this trend. Very strong underperformer is Tsla, TSLA is the code, and here we saw the breakout down below the Ichimoku cloud. We didn't see any strong follow through, but we have seen that for today's trading. A very large black body candle, sellers strongly in control and strongly committed, but looking at the relative strength here, very strong underperformance against the overall equities market, but looking a little overextended now, so something of a bounce wouldn't surprise, but we're not seeing that in the charts with this candle with the sellers strongly in control and strongly committed. But looking at the momentum of relative strength too, very strongly underperforming and suggesting we could see this relative strength underperformance continue. And just to a stock that we have been looking at on the weekly charts, Tyson Foods, TSN, is a very, very strong stock. Solid buying coming in today. There was potential for a change of trend to the downside off the back of that indecisive candle from the previous day's trading. Haven't seen that today. The market is looking a little overextended in the depth away from the Ichimoku cloud, but looking at the angle of these two indicators, the Kijun-sen and the Tenkan-sen, it reflects very strong upside momentum. If we do see the market come off, strong support at the Tenkan-sen at 44.75. In terms of relative strength, still strongly outperformed by trading up above the upper band against the overall equities market, and the momentum of that relative strength is now back above the upper band, reflecting that we certainly could see this stock continue to the upside. Next to Visa, V is the code, and this is another solid performer, a very strong outperformer over the last 4 or 5 days. Performing up above the Ichimoku charts in all 3 time frames, and a good extension to the size of the white body here. Buyers in control, strongly committed, over to the right hand side, up above the upper band, suggesting very strong bullish buys in the medium term time frame. If we do see any selling, looking to the upper band at 72.91 to hold a support, and also at the Tenkan-sen at 71.85. In terms of relative strength, outperforming the overall market, and momentum of relative strength is up above the upper band, above the 100% level, and looking very strong.